So the markets are relatively flat today, a few gains on the industrial side, but just talk to us about what we're expecting to see in 2012 anymore, because last year the market lost about 3%. I would have expected it to be much more than that.
Definitely. Last year was a bit dull for the equities market. We saw both indices shedding off some points there, largely driven by large cap counters in the mainstream index, the likes of Delta, Econet, and in the mining index. I think across the whole mining index, all the counters in that sector were not really performing that well, possibly a result of the indigenization and the individual counters difficulties in terms of debt.
Right. All right, so let's talk about liquidity challenges, because these are pervasive in the market. There's also the political risk sentiment, because we are expecting elections this year, but we're told they may actually happen in 2013. So there's still going to be a lot of uncertainty about leadership and governance in Zimbabwe.
Definitely, 2012 has begun on a low note, especially for the capital markets. The major reason there being the uncertainty regarding elections in the country. There's still uncertainty as we speak whether elections will be held in 2012 or they will be held in 2013. There's two differences in the major parties in the country. You find on one side ZANU-PF is pulling for elections in 2012. On the other end, the partner in the inclusive government, MDCT, is saying that there should be reforms before any elections are talked of. So there's still that impasse. Right. And as we speak, there's not really a clear light on when exactly the elections will be held.
All right, let's talk about what could lift the market, because already we're seeing where there are gains in the 2012 markets. Early days, it's on the resources side. We're expecting gold prices to get over $2,000 a barrel even this year. It's quite possible. Also, the platinum price lifted. How will that impact the ZSC?
I would say it will be quite difficult, especially on commodities, given that most of the commodity counters in the country are not really that big. If you look at Wange, it's mainly coal, which is not really exported. If you look at Ryuzim, that's diamonds, but it hasn't been performing quite well individually. It's settled by huge debt. So in terms of the commodity prices, the only indirect benefit that we'll get from that is perhaps through exports and the contribution that will naturally come through the liquidity side of things. Mm-hmm. So we expect a little bit of improvement in the liquidity. So we expect the local guys from that improvement to perhaps spend some of that money into the stock market. Right. But in terms of the real commodity linked counters like Wanke, Gold, we really don't expect much to come from the mining sector.
Let's talk about what happened in 2011 by way of drops in big blue chip counters. I said earlier on, Old Mutual declined 16%, Meikles 64%, cement maker Lafarge 29%, Econet 6%. So when we're seeing the bigger counters showing declines, be it a question of jitters, be it a question of pricing, will things change this year?
It's quite difficult to say, but suffice to say that the major contribution towards the decline in the huge cap counters last year was a result of foreign investors who were really heavily selling, especially in the second half. You find that most of the foreign investors came into the market 2009 and 2010 when the prices were really depressed. So when they were disposing in 2011, the prices, though they were low, it was a benefit to them, it was a plus. They were making profitable disposals. Coming into 2012, we have noted that the fundamentals continue to improve in the country. Economic growth is going to be positive. We expect an improvement in liquidity. Inflation is too low.
Right.
So the fundamentals are quite positive. But in terms of that translating into price appreciation, that's where the catch is. The market has not really been showing the improved fundamentals in counter prices. Look at Econet. Its financials are quite straightforward. The telecommunication sector is performing quite good at the moment, with EPS exceeding 80 cents, but that has not really translated into price improvement. So we still have that disjoint in the market where the fundamentals are not really fully reflected through price appreciation.
All right, in this disjointed market though, which would be your stock picks very quickly and why? Just your three top stocks.
I would go for FBC, which is a financial counter. The major reason being that it has been solid in 2011, and it has got diversifications into Tenor, which was also performing quite well, and we expect it to continue performing well in 2012. The other one I would go for is Econet, largely for the fact that its financial performance has been consistent since dollarization, and we expect much more going into 2012. Lastly, I would go for Delta. The past year, their sales were quite tremendous, and during the festive season, they recorded a large amount of sales.